At dinner my sister screamed, "You don't belong in this family anymore!" And everyone laughed. I smiled and said, "Great, then your wedding's on you," and left. The next morning, the laugh was what did it. Not the scream, not even the words themselves. It was the way everyone laughed after she said it. That cheap, awkward chuckle you hear when someone crosses a line and everyone's too spineless to call it out. "You don't belong in this family anymore." My sister, Jenna, spat it out over a bowl of Caesar salad like it was the most casual thing in the world. Her voice shrill, eyes wild, face already red from the 3 glasses of white wine she downed before the main course. I was still holding my fork when she said it, halfway through a bite, and for a second, I thought she must be joking. But the room fell into a stunned hush, and then the giggles started. From my uncle. From my cousin. Even my mother offered a nervous smile, and quickly looked down at her plate. That was the moment I knew I was done. I set my fork down gently, wiped my mouth with the cloth napkin like I had all the time in the world, and looked Jenna dead in the eye. "Great," I said, smiling in that calm, quiet way that always freaked her out. "Then your wedding's on you." And then I stood up and walked out. No one tried to stop me. Not my mom. Not even Jenna's fiancé. It was the last family dinner I ever attended. But let me back up for a second. You have to understand, I was never the favorite. That spot belonged to Jenna from the moment she could cry on command. She was the baby, the miracle, after 2 miscarriages, the little princess who got everything handed to her on a silver platter. And me? I was the dependable one. The one who stepped up when our dad passed, who paid the bills, who put my own life on hold to make sure everyone else stayed afloat. So when Jenna got engaged and came crying to me about how tight money was, even though her Instagram was full of spa weekends and champagne brunches, I said yes. Again. Like I always did. I paid for the venue. The band. The florals. Even the deposit on that ridiculous 3-tier cake she insisted had to be custom-made with edible pearls. And still, I didn't belong. That dinner wasn't the first crack in the glass, but it was the one that shattered everything. And the next morning? That's when I made the call. One by one, I started pulling the pins from the grenade Jenna had no idea was in her lap. The morning after the dinner, I woke up calm. Too calm. It was that eerie kind of quiet you feel right before a storm hits, when your chest isn't tight anymore, because you've finally accepted that you're about to burn the whole damn thing down. I made coffee. Sat at the kitchen table. Watched the steam rise as I opened my laptop. First up, the venue. I'd fronted the deposit and had the balance scheduled to be auto-paid next week. I opened the email thread with the event coordinator, a woman named Sheila who'd been painstakingly polite through Jenna's endless, self-important emails. "Hi Sheila," I typed. "Unfortunately, I need to cancel our booking for the Montgomery wedding on June 3rd. Circumstances have changed, and I'll be halting all future payments. I understand the deposit is non-refundable. Consider that a generous gift. Send." One domino down. Next, the caterer. Jenna had insisted on a farm-to-table menu that was wildly out of budget. I had agreed anyway, partly because I didn't want her calling me cheap at another family gathering. Not that it helped. I scrolled to the invoice. 4,000 still outstanding. Due in 2 days. Cancel. Then came the band. A 3-piece jazz ensemble from downtown who Jenna said added a touch of class. They were nice guys. I actually felt a little bad canceling on them. I told them the truth, that the event was no longer happening. They understood. Musicians know what it means to get shafted by rich kid weddings. But I saved the best for last, the florist. Jenna had chosen a designer who specialized in statement installations. Think 9-foot floral arches and tables covered in roses no one would appreciate because they'd be too busy pretending to like each other. The florist had texted me just the day before about ribbon colors. I texted her back. "The wedding's off. Thanks for your time." By 10 a.m., every thread Jenna had used to string together her fantasy day had been quietly snipped. And still, not a word from her. Not a text. Not a call. Not even a passive-aggressive emoji from my mother. They probably thought I was bluffing. They didn't know me at all. I wasn't done. Because this wasn't just about money. It was about everything they thought they could get away with. And now it was time Jenna's fiancé found out who he was really marrying. By noon, I was sitting in front of my desktop, staring at the folder I never thought I'd use, the one labeled Jenna Receipts. I'd started it out of spite a few months ago, after she ranted over brunch about how I owed her for being such a difficult child growing up. That little moment stuck with me, so I began saving things. Screenshots. Voice memos. Snippets of conversations. Stuff she never thought twice about saying, but I remembered. At the time, it felt petty. Now, it felt necessary. I pulled up a screenshot first, a text exchange between Jenna and her best friend, Madeline. It was dated about 3 months back, around the time she had gotten engaged. Jenna. I mean, Kevin's nice, but like nice. No edge. No mystery. Madeline. You're marrying him though? Jenna. Girl, I'm tired. Dating broke guys in their 30s is a joke. Kevin's boring but stable. I'll deal. That was the opening act. Then came the ones about our family, the ones that made something twist in my gut even more than the money ever did. A conversation between her and another bridesmaid after our mom asked her to be more patient with me. Jenna. Ugh. I swear if Mom defends him one more time, I'll scream. Bridesmaid. LOL, he's paying for your wedding, right? Jenna. Yeah, because he has nothing else going for him. It's his sad little legacy. And then there was the cherry on top, the credit card statement. Kevin didn't know she had a secret card. I did. I found it when she asked me to help her figure out her budget one afternoon and left her Chase login open on my laptop. 12 grand in debt. Mostly on designer shoes, luxury skincare, and one suspicious charge for a hotel in the city that wasn't tied to any bridal event. I gathered it all into a neat, brutal little package and composed the message. Hey Kevin. I know we don't talk much, but I thought you deserved a heads up before things go any further. I've attached a few screenshots and statements. None of this is fabricated. You should read them carefully, especially the ones where Jenna talks about you. And us. I don't expect you to thank me. But I do hope you think twice about who you're planning to spend your life with. I hit send. I sat back in my chair and stared at the screen. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel nervous. I just felt light. Like something had been pulled from my chest after years of pressure. That evening, the real fireworks started. I was making dinner when the first call came in. Jenna. I let it ring. Then came my mother. Then Jenna again. Then my aunt, which really cemented that whatever storm was building had started to make landfall. I didn't answer any of them. But Kevin? He didn't call. That silence was deafening, and exactly what I expected from a man who just found out his fiancée had been lying to him with the casual precision of someone brushing lint off their shoulder. It was around 9 p.m. when I finally opened Jenna's texts. There were 23 of them. The first few were the usual theatrics. Are you insane? What is wrong with you? You ruined everything. But then her tone shifted. Please don't do this. Can we talk? I didn't mean it. I was drunk. Everyone was laughing. Kevin's not picking up. Please. You don't understand. Oh, I understood perfectly. The next message came with a screenshot, Kevin's response to her frantic wall of texts. I saw the screenshots. I'm not just calling off the wedding. I'm done. Lose my number. It was harsh. Brutal, even. But he wasn't wrong. That was when Jenna stopped texting and started calling again. I watched the screen light up from across the room. 10 calls in 20 minutes. I turned off my phone and poured myself a drink. The next morning, I woke up to a new thread of texts from my mother. They started with concern. What happened? Why are you doing this? Then guilt. I know Jenna can be dramatic, but she's still your sister. You made a promise. And finally, predictably, blame. Your actions are vindictive and shameful. She's humiliated. Do you really want that on your conscience? I didn't respond. Instead, I went about my day. Cancelled one last payment I had scheduled, a post-wedding brunch that was supposed to happen at a rooftop bar downtown. Another $1,800 Jenna would never see. By lunch, I got a message from Kevin. Thank you? That was it. 2 words. But they hit harder than anything else that week. It was quiet for a few days after that. No calls. No texts. Not from Jenna. Not from my mom. Not even a guilt-laced email from one of the aunts who usually acted as the family's PR department. I wasn't naive. I knew they were talking. Plotting. Probably blaming me for everything. That's what happens when the one who keeps the machine running suddenly steps away. They scramble. They panic. They look for someone to blame when their well-oiled illusion starts rusting at the edges. And for the first time in years, they didn't have their scapegoat. That Friday, I ran into my cousin Rachel at a gas station. She gave me this look, half shock, half sympathy, like she wasn't sure if I was the villain or the antihero in the family's new dramatic saga. So, is it true? She asked, lowering her sunglasses like we were in a soap opera. I just raised an eyebrow. You'll have to be more specific. She hesitated. That you blew up Jenna's wedding. That Kevin left her. That. She leaned in. You told him about the debt and the texts. I didn't confirm or deny it. Instead, I said, if I did, do you think I was wrong? She blinked. Paused. Then, softly, no. That was all I needed to hear. The next evening, I heard from Kevin again. This time he called. I answered. I just wanted to say, thank you. He said again, but this time there was more weight to it. It was like I was watching this version of her I didn't even recognize. I thought she was stressed, but now I think she just thought she could get away with it. Because she always has. I said quietly. He was silent for a moment. Then he said, you saved me from a lifetime of that. We didn't talk long. There wasn't much more to say. But it felt like closing the door on something, not slamming it, just locking it for good. Meanwhile, Jenna? Her Instagram, once a daily flood of selfies and countdowns to Jenna and Kevin's big day ring sparkles, had gone radio silent. 3 days. 4. Then a post appeared. A black and white photo of a wilted bouquet. Caption: not everyone is who they pretend to be. Lesson learned. The irony nearly gave me whiplash. A week passed. Then 2. The wedding date, June 3rd, came and went without a single white dress or champagne toast. No vows. No garter toss. No teary-eyed speeches about love conquering all. Instead, there were whispers. Long Facebook posts from distant relatives dancing around what had really happened. A few bold comments from old family friends, the kind who always talk too loud at reunions, asking why Jenna's registry had vanished and why the venue had switched to a different couple's wedding. But the biggest shock wasn't the silence. It was how quickly the people around her scattered. Turns out, when the party's cancelled, so is the entourage. Her bridesmaids unfollowed her. One of them, Melissa, I think, even DM'd me days later with a message that read, "You did what the rest of us were too scared to do. Good for you." Ouch. As for my mother, she tried one last time to bring me back into the fold. She showed up at my apartment without warning, holding a tray of lemon squares like we were still pretending everything could be fixed with sugar and nostalgia. "You made your point," she said, before I even got the door fully open. "But enough is enough." I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "Enough of what, exactly?" I asked. Her lips tightened. "Jenna's not eating. She won't come out of her room. She's devastated. She's dealing with the consequences of her actions," I said flatly. "That's called being an adult. You humiliated her. She humiliated herself." My mother's voice dropped, as if she thought saying it softer would make it more reasonable. "She's your sister. And I was her brother," I said, right up until she screamed that I didn't belong in this family. In front of everyone. And you laughed. She opened her mouth, to apologize? To rationalize? I'll never know. I shut the door before she could decide. I didn't need an apology. Not anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even bitter. I was free. Free from the constant guilt-tripping, the performative love, the way I was only ever part of the family. When they needed something, money, labor, a favor that came with a side of emotional blackmail. No more. That night, I made myself a decent dinner. Watched a movie I actually wanted to watch. Slept soundly, for the first time in what felt like years. And Jenna? She'd have to figure out how to be the center of attention without a stage to stand on. It happened on a Wednesday. Mid-afternoon, just as I was finishing up some work from home, my phone buzzed with a notification that immediately made my stomach turn. Montgomery family thread. A group chat that had been quiet since the wedding's spectacular implosion was suddenly active again. I had considered leaving it a dozen times. But some part of me had stayed, like watching a train wreck in slow motion. And today, apparently, the wreck had picked up speed. Jenna had sent a message. A long one. I just want everyone to know that I've been through a lot lately. Some people, who were supposed to care about me, made it their mission to destroy the happiest time of my life. I've been betrayed. Lied to. Abandoned. But I'm healing. And one day, when I'm successful and thriving, I hope those same people feel the sting of being left out. Family should never turn on family. Even if they're bitter. Even if they've always been jealous. She didn't mention me by name. She didn't have to. The chat stayed silent for maybe a minute, then Uncle Mark chimed in. Jenna, come on. You told your brother he wasn't part of this family. He paid for everything and you treated him like a spare tire. Don't twist it now. Then Rachel, the cousin from the gas station, added. Honestly, I used to think he was too quiet. But now, I think he was just tired of being used. Can't say I blame him. One by one, people either hard-reacted or dropped neutral messages like, let's not do this here. Or, we all make mistakes. But no one defended her. Not Mom. Not even Aunt Cheryl, who had once spent an entire Thanksgiving raving about Jenna's sparkling energy. Jenna left the chat 10 minutes later. I didn't say a word. Not in the group, not in private. I didn't need to. It was the first time in my life that the family, the same family that had watched me carry them like a mule for years, saw it. The dynamic. The entitlement. The years of imbalance that had always been dismissed as just how Jenna is. The silence after she left felt like an exhale. Like the room had finally cleared of smoke. And me? I finally understood something. You don't need to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. About a month passed. Jenna didn't reach out. Not to apologize. Not to explain. Not to lash out, which, honestly, felt more off-brand than anything else. My mother did, once, a brief voicemail that sounded more like a sigh than a message. Just her voice, soft and tired. I wish things hadn't gotten this bad. But things hadn't gotten this bad. They had always been this bad. People just finally noticed. Meanwhile, word trickled in from people still in the loop. Kevin had moved out of state. Started fresh. Got a promotion, too. One of his friends sent me a message on LinkedIn, just a casual, "Good call, man," and a fist bump emoji. Jenna, on the other hand, moved back in with Mom. The irony was almost poetic. After a lifetime of being spoiled, paraded, and bailed out, she ended up exactly where I had once started, under that same roof, in the guest room that had once been mine. Except now, there were no deposits coming from me. No backup plans. No emergency fund wrapped in brotherly guilt. The wedding vendors never refunded her. Most wouldn't return her calls. Her name wasn't even on the contracts. I made sure of that. She tried to reschedule the wedding with someone else footing the bill. Rumor had it a new boyfriend, a real estate investor, with more ego than income, but nothing stuck. The wedding dream, the one she turned into a performance, center stage, spotlight, all eyes on her, was over. I didn't gloat. I didn't post cryptic tweets or tell people I told you so. I just kept living. I paid off my car. Started traveling, real travel, not like Jenna's curated beach selfies. Places I'd always wanted to go, but never could justify because someone else always needed the money more. And I finally started saving for a house. My house. Not the family's. Not someone else's name on the lease. Mine. For the first time in years, I felt like I was building something for me. It came in a thick white envelope with gold lettering. No return address. I already knew. I opened it slowly, more curious than anything. Inside was a folded card that read, "You are invited to celebrate Jenna Montgomery's 31st birthday, an evening of healing and new beginnings." It was at a rented hall downtown. Dress code cocktail. RSVP requested. There was no "Dear, my name." No personal note. Just the assumption that I'd show up. Like nothing had happened. Like we were all good now. I set the invite down and laughed. Not bitterly, not like before. Just amused. Jenna hadn't changed. Not really. She just found a new stage. A different kind of performance. But me? I had changed. I didn't RSVP. I didn't text. I didn't even toss the invite. I framed it. Hung it on the wall in my hallway, not out of spite, but as a reminder. Just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they deserve your peace. The night of Jenna's birthday, I stayed home. No drama. No second guessing. No slow pacing by the door waiting to change my mind. Instead, I made dinner, something simple, something just for me. I poured a glass of wine and sat by the window while the city hummed quietly outside. Somewhere downtown, people were clinking glasses and posting filtered photos of healing. But not me. I didn't need a theme, or a spotlight, or an audience to feel whole. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't carrying someone else's burden. Not out of guilt. Not out of obligation. And definitely not out of some warped sense of what family was supposed to be. I thought back to that night at the dinner table, the moment she screamed that I didn't belong. And everyone laughed. They had no idea what they were setting in motion. They thought they were cutting me out. But the truth is, they freed me.